consider, that if you might have an interest in one of these things, or maybe something might ring with you this morning, and we're excited for all of our guests to share a little bit about what they've done and then where you might be able to get involved in the future. So first, we'll ask us to go down the line, just have you introduce yourselves. What's your name? If you're a student, what's your major? If you're a faculty member, what's your field of study? And what year are you? And maybe what's your hometown? That sounds fun. That's a nice way to do this. Okay, Ryan, why don't you start?
I'm Ryan. I am an elementary ed major. I'm a sophomore, and I am from the Dalles, Oregon.
All right.
My name is Elisa Hill. I am a junior elementary education major, and I am from Nampa, Idaho.
Come on, it's great.
I am Dr. David Hilley. I'm originally from Spokane, Washington. I teach in the biology department, primarily in wildlife biology and ecology. And if we need to shift and just talk about birds, I can do that.
Yeah, what would you say is a quick top fact about the nighthawk that you like to share with people?
We didn't prep this.
No, I'm sorry.
This is just really cool. They migrate from Idaho to Argentina, Venezuela, all of South America every year. So a nighthawk you could see 15 miles from campus here in the summer is going to winter down in South America. And they do that every year.
That's pretty cool. Yeah, I would like to do that. So let's just plan on that. Dr. Hilley, let's start with you. Why don't we put the slide up, and the students can kind of see what we're talking about as we go. But if you all didn't know, NNU has a partnership agreement with Africa Nazarene University, which is located around Nairobi, Kenya. And you can go and study there, but also when we send students there every year, and we have a group of students here from Africa Nazarene right now. Who's here from ANU? Anybody? I see a faculty member over here. Anybody else? Yeah, hey, what's up? Very cool. So we want to engage them too here in chapel. So you'll be hearing from them at some point this semester. But yeah, so we have a faculty exchange as well. So you got to go and be the sort of faculty member rep from NNU last year. Tell us a little bit about that experience, what you did while you were there.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, so a year ago right now, my family and I, so my wife and our 2 kids, were living full-time on campus of Africa Nazarene University. As in the exchange part of it, it gave me the opportunity to teach a course in the host department that I went into there at ANU. So I got to teach some ecology there. A big part of that also is in that faculty sponsor role is to walk alongside our NNU students as they are there in that exchange program too. So I also had the opportunity to teach a course specifically for our NNU students that was a course that was just helping lead them through that cross-cultural experience. To be honest, there's no way to paint a picture of what that semester is like. It would take hundreds of stories to share the depth and the richness of what the experience was as a faculty member, as a husband and father, and just the interaction with our NNU students as well too. But I would say the variation throughout the semester is great. One week you're studying on campus at ANU, the next week you're off in a Maasai community doing a service project with a local Nazarene church and school. The next week you're on, well, not like the very next week, but an additional week you're on the Indian Ocean doing some snorkeling in some of the best coral reefs on the planet in order to study, environmental sustainability within the Kenyan system. So very rich for me in my experience, but also for the way in which the students are engaging the community at ANU and also learning about the greater country of Kenya as well too within the continent of Africa.
Mm-hmm. What would you say, both from a experiential, just like getting out and trying something new in that exchange program, what was the highlight of that, but also just a material highlight? What place did you go or see that was like, oh, this was really amazing? So maybe more of a meaningful personal growth, but also maybe a touristy moment too. Like what were the highlights?
Yeah. For me personally, I've had the blessing and opportunity to do quite a bit of traveling and living in Central America and traveling throughout Latin America quite a bit and a bit in Asia. for work and also just for fun travels. And I think at some point I thought, I'm pretty good at this. I'm, especially Latin America, I can go in and out of Latin America just fine. And that culture shock or that the feeling of being out of place isn't quite there. And when I got to Kenya and actually settled in for longer than a couple weeks, I realized I haven't lived in Africa before. This is a part of the world, a global cultural area that my brain and body just did not really know how to be a part of immediately. And so it was a really fun reminder of what that feels like, what that adventure feels like to come into a place and feel so out of place that you really start asking yourself really important questions in comparison to the biases and ideas you have coming in, and it challenges you in that way to grow, expand the way you're perceiving the world and the way that everyone operates within their own cultures and within our same faith, how we operate differently in our fellowships, and I found that to be very challenging and valuable to me at the same time.
Cool. So then what was, you mentioned coral reefs, you mentioned service projects. What was the most fun sort of excursion you got to do as a part of just seeing the country and experiencing the culture?
That's a hard one because there was a lot of really cool moments. But I think that it does come back to the Masai Mara expansive savanna. It's kind of your typical safari spot that you can think of when you're thinking about global safaris, but honestly, it's a place like you just can't imagine because the expansiveness and size and I think about things through the ecological landscapes through that perspective a lot, and the size at which natural life is occurring out there with the amount of biodiversity is just amazing and kind of a wild that we can't experience here in the U.S. Honestly. We did not prep these necessarily.
What was the coolest bird that you saw that you've never seen before?
Ooh, yeah, wow.
Putting you on the spot with the bird stuff.
Yeah.
That's his specialty, by the way. He's an ornithologist. You're an ornithologist, right? Professionally speaking.
Yeah. So there is. I think that one of the coolest birds. There are many, but one of the coolest birds I saw is called a lilac-breasted roller. Out in kind of the savanna, open grassland areas, and one of the reasons I found it to be so much fun to see is because I get excited about every small little brown bird that it takes 15 minutes just to identify the difference between this brown bird and that brown bird.
There's a gray fleck on the wing. Yeah, it's a little different. Yeah.
Most people around me don't get excited about that type of spotting.
There's something that tells me that the lilac-breasted roller is not a boring ground brown bird.
That was one where when everyone in my family and when the students saw that one, they were like, "Oh, that's a bird worth looking at."
Yeah. Cool.
That's a memorable one for me.
Cool. Well, we're not just going to go down the line. We'll have an ongoing conversation, but before we ask questions of our other panelists, I do want to make sure you see the information up here. So this is an opportunity that's available this coming spring semester, and it's a straight up exchange. So there's no additional fees for tuition or room and board involved with this. You just go and study. There is an additional cost because of flights and some of the other costs, ancillary costs that come along with expeditions and that kind of thing. But if I'm reading this slide right, someone has pledged to help with that cost, that extra cost, it looks like, for the first 10 students who are approved to go. So sign up for that, and showing interest looks like it's coming up in about a month. So I don't know, is Chadwick in the room? Chadwick, are you currently here in the room? But you'll want to, he's right in the back. So everybody look back at that guy waving his hands around. He's going to come down front when we're done this morning. Okay, Chadwick, I know I didn't ask you this before. But Dr. Chadwick Pearsall is going to come down front, and he'll be available for questions. Dr. Hilly will be available for questions. You can also email them. This is a really cool opportunity that we have to participate with an education partner right around the globe. Okay, Ryan, let's come to you next because we've got your slide. It's going to come up here. You got to do changing gears quite a bit here, but last summer you did an internship in Indianapolis at Shepherd Community Center, which is a really profound, awesome inner city Compassionate Ministry Center, essentially. Tell us a little bit about like how you found out about that and what got you started to consider going there.
I originally found out about Shepherd through one of my like Christian ministry classes. Kenny Wade came in to talk to our class, and like while listening to it, he asked if anyone was interested, and I was like, that sounds really, really cool, but I don't want to be the first person or the only person to say I'm interested, so I won't say anything. And then somehow he found me, and
He is a very determined person. He's awesome. Yeah.
through talking with other students and stuff, I got involved and was able to apply and interview and all that stuff.
Okay. And how long were you in Indianapolis for this last summer?
2 months. A
2
little
months?
Over 2 months.
Okay, and it's a residential internship, right? So they
Yeah.
provide housing and that kind of thing. And then what was your work life day to day? How were you involved?
Well, I co-taught a 6th grade class, or incoming 6th graders, and it was like summer school / summer camp / vacation Bible school.
Okay, that sounds awesome.
So like we taught like school stuff, but we also taught like Bible and life lessons, and then took them on fun field trips and stuff.
Can you tell us a little bit about what Shepherd does and where it's located in sort of the environment of Indianapolis and the support that they have?
It's located in eastern side of Indy, which is known as like the hood of Indy, and their goal is to break the cycle of poverty. And so what I was doing as a summer intern was working with the kids for like education purposes to break the cycle of poverty, and then they have programs for all other ages.
And what would you say was like a highlight of the summer for you?
A highlight for the teaching aspect was definitely getting to watch the kids grow and like open up. And some kids who had come without very little biblical knowledge and like very little knowledge of God, or were pretty immature when they came in, like watching God work through them and watching them open up, and getting to see God in the little moments was really a highlight. But like on a more what we did this summer and how we had fun was getting to hang out with all of the other like 15 of us who were summer interns.
Okay, so you weren't just there by yourself. You weren't just part of a small team. There were 15 other interns, college-aged interns?
Yeah, college-age interns from all across the country.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So getting to hang out with them and getting used to like just mingling with a bunch of other people.
Yeah.
Okay. What would you say? It sounds like you were a little nervous at first. You didn't want to be the only one to sign up. Were you the only one from NNU who went?
I was not.
Oh, who else went?
Casey, who was an RA in Ford last year, went, and Joshua, who is also here this year, went,
Yeah.
and then a couple other people from like the NNU area went.
Yeah, and I know we have some students who have come from Indianapolis who have been part of Shepherd. I know if anybody knows Dorian Cushingberry, there you are, Dorian. I know you're in here. What's up, dude? Dorian's from Indy, and Dorian, you were part of Shepherd for a while, right? Yeah, which is awesome. So some really great connections we've got to the Indy community. What would you say was maybe a harder part about going? Obviously, leaving home, that kind of thing. But yeah, what would you say?
Classroom management for a class of 6th graders was kind of a hard part of that.
Yeah.
They grew up with a very different background than I ever grew up with, and so they came with their own like individual needs and stuff, which made them a little bit of a difficult class.
Yeah.
And so that was definitely a challenge, but like as you grow, you get to be able to do it better. And,
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. Cool. Well, we're going to continue, but I want to highlight this slide. So yeah, there's a QR code if this is something you're interested. I actually saw Kenny in here. Kenny, where are you, dude? You're also in the back. Hey, there's Kenny Wade, the other person in the back. So Kenny, if you wouldn't mind when we're done here, if you could come down front and people can find you if they're interested. A great internship opportunity. But what I also want to let you know is we are planning to do an NNU mission trip, a serving trip this upcoming summer to Indianapolis. So the internship is a great long-term option, super cool opportunity maybe to use that for if you need an internship for your program or something, that might fit for that. Cool long-term residential opportunity. But if you want to go on a short-term trip and check out the work that's being done there and learn more about it and about the cycle of poverty that they're working to break in Indianapolis, that could be a really good option too. More information about those trips is going to come later this fall, so just keep an eye out for that. Elisa, why don't you tell us a little bit about what you did this summer? And we don't have a slide for you, I'm sorry. You just get the chapel theme slide.
My bosses,
Yeah, it's our fault. It's our fault. Yeah, it's our fault. So yeah, what did you do this last summer?
Yeah, actually for the last 2 summers, I've had the opportunity to travel with NNU Collective. I have both times been on one of the shorter teams, which has been great because that allows me to do other things during the summer too. But so in total, I traveled for 7 weeks, 7 different camps across the Northwest. So I've been over to Oregon, up to Montana, down to Colorado, traveling with 2 different teams of absolutely amazing people. We prep worship-wise and just like spiritually ahead of time, and then we go and we're just kind of like thrown into the deep end of we're leading worship, we're being cabin leaders, leading devotionals, leading games or participating in games, and like getting chicken poured on your head or sardines, other, just casually camp things.
Did you say just chicken?
Like canned chicken?
Okay, yeah. I had this vision of
Like a chicken.
yeah, or just like nasty thawed chicken juice,
Okay, but,
like
this
that's like a life-threatening moment that I probably needed to know about
Fair.
before.
Like Caleb and Brogan, like it was like cans of sardines or like, other.
You're doing a really good job recruiting for this
yeah,
right now, Lisa. That's
sign
good.
up for Collective.
Oh, Lisa, I'm gonna ask you to take a step back.
Yeah.
For those who are here who are not familiar with the whole church summer camp world, what exactly is Collective, and what are you doing all summer when you're traveling to these camps?
Yeah. So Collective is a team of NNU people. We're employed by the university, and we're sent out to district camps in like the Nazarene Church. So these people like have maybe heard of NNU if they're really from really far away, maybe not. But we're thrown into like a week-long camp. And it's just a really cool place where like there's lots of youth pastors and like children's workers, whatever age you're at, and they're like organizing this camp. We're at a really cool campground that maybe has like mini golf, zip lines, other really fun things, and we just get to hop in and do whatever they need us to do to help just make Jesus come to life for these kids during the week. And so we get to do lots of interacting with kids, but primarily at most camps we lead worship. And so, yeah.
Cool. And you said you were on a shorter team, so there's different stints.
Yes.
Like if I don't want to go travel for 8 weeks in the summer, but I have 3 weeks, would that be an option for me?
Yes. This last year we were on a 3-week team, and it was one of the best 3 weeks of my life. Spent with some amazing people.
Do I have to be a musician to be able to travel for NNU, Elisa?
No.
Okay.
We literally need everyone. Our sound and slide people are just as important as the people that are up on stage leading the music, because Collective is not just the worship. And even during that worship, we would not function without our sound person or our slides person. And it's really like we need the entire team to be able to step up and be leaders in every aspect of things. But yeah, so literally any major, any experience is like welcomed, and so it's super fun. And we always made a joke about like everyone on our team, we're like, we don't have the same skill sets, but collectively we're coming together. And yeah, did you hear that?
That's where the name came from.
We're coming together collectively and using the different majors and different skill sets that we have and putting them together like for the betterment of these kids, and like I said, to like make Jesus come alive.
Because you're leading games, you're doing, maybe you're cabin leaders, you're helping out in a bunch of other aspects too throughout the week.
Yeah.
And is this just free? Do I just volunteer and travel? Do I just?
No, you get paid.
You get paid. That's neat.
Money.
Okay, very cool. So, if this is something that you're interested in, you're going to want to talk to Noah Daniels, who hopefully many of you have met. Stand up, Noah. Yeah, thanks, man. Go ahead and let everybody. Yeah, you're here. Yeah. Noah will be down front. He can answer questions about this. So, a question that I want to ask the whole table as we continue moving forward is: you all took a step, right? You thought, oh, this is something new. This is something interesting. This is something outside the norm, or like the traditional sort of normal college experience or faculty teaching experience. What advice would you have for someone in the room? I mean, it's not too early to start thinking about all this stuff. It's definitely not too early if you're thinking about going in the spring to ANU. But someone's just going, oh man, I'm not sure. What advice would you have for someone who's thinking about doing something new or taking a step out and trying something that they've never done before, or might take a little courage? What would you say?
I would say the biggest thing for me was just praying about it, and like when you're trying to decide if you're going to do something and step out in faith and try something new, prayer is like the one thing I can suggest. And like listening to other people and realizing how this like fits with your supposed giftings that you've been told about, or things that you enjoy doing, or if it fits with your major, anything like that that like furthers God's kingdom. Definitely like step out and be willing to try that.
Nice. Awesome.
I think like we were talking about and how you don't have to have one specific skill set to like join Collective. I think the requirement is that you have a heart posture of like willingness to learn, willingness to be exhausted, to struggle through hard conversations, but just that heart posture of God, like use me as your vessel, whether it's up on stage singing, doing the sound, or it's in cabin devotionals, because we get thrown in, and by thrown in, like good thrown in, to some really deep conversations with kids that are just trying to figure things out. And it's so cool to like sit in that with them, be like, I don't have it all figured out either, but God used me.
What would you say, Dr. Lee?
Yeah, I'd say I know that there are a lot of factors that students would take into account when they're deciding whether or not to do a full semester study abroad experience. And one of those factors, one of them is maybe the idea and thinking about what you would miss when you're gone from NNU for a full semester, because I know that NNU is a special place to be on campus, and it's hard to think about missing some of that time. I would encourage you to just kind of set that idea about away, or put it away, of what you might miss, and think about the opportunity that you have to gain by going. I think that if you were to talk to any of our students that have gone to ANU before now, and also students who have done study abroad in other locations, most of them, maybe not all, but most of them, a high number of them are going to say, do it. This is an opportunity that you may not have again, and you won't regret going to do this. I also would say start having conversations with the people that can give you some good information, whether it's Dr. Chadwick Pearsall, myself, our ANU visitors that are with us this semester, Dr. Osoro, and the students that are with us. Those are folks that if you are thinking about going to ANU, these are built-in friends for you to take with you, waiting for you when you get to ANU. That's the beauty of this exchange, is that this friendship you could have with them would last through the spring semester and on their home territory. And then our next faculty member is going, Dr. Nikki Bodenstab-Lee, as well. If you want to know her and what it would be like to spend a semester with her, which would be fantastic, reach out to her and have some conversations with her. She'd probably be happy to take you out for coffee or something like that. So explore and be willing to think about what you would gain by going.
And you took your family. You mentioned your kids,
Yeah.
and your spouse all went. And I know Dr. Bodenstab-Lee's family is planning on going for a period of time. So you're also going with some children who you're going to get to hang out with and get to know more, and a faculty member and their family, which is super cool. I would just say, I want to reiterate what Dr. Haley was just saying. You are in a really cool, unique space of life. And I know for all of these things, it has to fit in your schedule, it has to fit into your kind of ability to plan budget-wise. But very rarely in your future will you find that you have the flexibility, the free time, the opportunity laid out in front of you to do some of these sort of, frankly, once-in-a-lifetime opportunities. Yes, you might be able to travel in the future at some point, and yes, you might be able to be involved in a mission trip or whatever, but the nature of these opportunities is very, very specific to where you find yourself right now. And you'll discover as you graduate and real life kind of comes at you fast in your mid-20s, these types of things are going to start to dry up, and you're going to have missed the opportunity for any of these things, whether it's a mission trip or an internship in Indianapolis or traveling and playing music at summer camps. That's a super fun, exhausting, but life-changing time where you build lifelong relationships, or traveling and studying at another school in another, not just country, but continent, another hemisphere. Like, that is an unbelievably cool opportunity, and one that I know we have really worked hard to remove as many barriers as possible to make it possible for you to do that. So as you think about these opportunities today, I just really want to encourage you, ask questions. I want to end a little bit early so that if folks have questions, they don't feel like they have to rush out necessarily. So if you all would be willing to hang out down front, and then if our other kind of faculty or sponsor type people would hang out too to answer some questions, that'd be awesome. So would you all just, again, give a round of applause to our 3 panelists who have been here this morning. I see that. Thank you. And then I just invite you to bow your heads, and if you need to go, you're gonna have a couple minutes, but if you'd like to ask some questions and come down and do that, you are really, really encouraged to do so. So would you bow your heads with me? God, we thank you so much for the opportunity to be in this room today. We thank you for the blessing of gathering together for chapel, this space that we are invited into 3 times a week to just rest and to let our minds just recuperate and prepare for a busy week. And so on this Monday, we just ask you to continue to be with us, give us strength as we are now in the thick of the semester. And we pray that you would go from this place with us, giving us peace and strength for the week. In Jesus' name we pray these things. Amen. Have a great day, everyone. See you on Wednesday.